live. I guess we're broadcasting live now. Here we
The
go.
views and opinions expressed by the guests of Sasquatch Experience do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the hosts, sponsors, or affiliates of the Sasquatch Experience. As always, listener discretion is advised.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Does a legend walk among us, lurking in the forests of our world?
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my sensor light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something. Looks like a man. I don't know what it was.
For over 15 years, we've talked with scientists, researchers, investigators, and witnesses, trying to gain insight and proof around the existence of this mysterious entity.
Jesus Christ, you better...
Sure.
Tia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's right...
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
Join us as we continue into the investigation of the Sasquatch Experience. Welcome back, Sasquatch Experience. Sean Forker, Vance Nesbitt, James Baker, and Henry May. And I got all those directionals wrong, but that's okay. If you're watching my pen was pointing in the wrong direction.
Gets
Having
in trouble
pen
every
problems.
time.
Gets me every time, pen problems. Folks, welcome back. It's been great. After a little impromptu, we just needed a break. Let's not kid ourselves. James and I.
No, we're not kidding ourselves. You had a birthday to celebrate.
Well, that was just
birthday,
1 week.
Sean. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. We had a good time. Bake was
Should
over.
we
Had
sing
some
the
cheesecake
song?
last week. No, let's not do that. We all know I hate that very much. I do not like it. But nonetheless, it was a good week. Happy Labor Day to everybody. The day we celebrate the fruits of our labor and the people who, fought to make sure we have labor rights, which are important. So we could have days like today off. Anyhow,
I still labor.
yeah, you did. Just being you was a labor sometimes. And we lost Henry, but he'll come back. He's been popping in and out since we started. See what I mean? All right.
There we go. Yeah.
DSQ EXP, folks, is our promo code for Dr. Squatch. DSQ EXP for new customers, 20% off orders over $20. It works again. We have a brand new account manager we're working with. Things are all well between Sasquatch Experience and the Dr. Squatch Company. Again. It's important. I thought I'd throw that out there, get that out of the way right at the beginning. Because, we promised this as an ad-free show to our Patreons, which, folks, you can join for as little as $2 a month. Ad-free exclusive episodes, so much more that we're going to be building. Some things that aren't for the faint of heart, some episodes that just aren't made from the public at large. You watch movies with us, guys. Sometimes things are said that shouldn't be said, all in the spirit of fun. But they really aren't for everybody. So we put them behind a paywall. So you have to pay for that goodness. How nice.
you got to pay for the profanity.
If you want to see the private moments in parts, you got to pay.
No.
And that's part of the reason right there. We put it behind a paywall. In fact, we may just block him out, like do one of those unsolved mystery silhouettes with the voice. So if you want to see James Baker,
we'll just pixelate his
for
face. There you go.
Yeah, you have to pay to see James Baker.
You're gonna have to pay.
Yikes! Wow,
The
that creeped me out.
Only
Okay,
a
I'm not
mother
going to
could
sleep
love.
good tonight.
Right there. Who sleeps good anymore anyhow?
Well, I
Then you
tried.
just wake up and go to work again. I mean, where's the incentive?
But it's Labor Day.
Aside from the Patreon, which you can join for as little as $2 a month, go to our website, sasquatchexperience.com. Click on the link for Cloud Paper and save some money and support the show. And also just stay tuned for more promotions that we'll be running. The holiday seasons are coming. Believe it or not, guys, I heard 16 weeks till Christmas.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
For those who care. For the
Thanks
rest
for
of
rubbing
you,
that in.
Whatever you believe in, that's great too.
There's some holidays in between we missing.
This is that's fine. This is about selling soap right now, so I care about the 16-week one. Okay.
Well,
I'm
you
hawking
should
some
smell
soap
fresh
here.
and clean during Thanksgiving.
Yes.
You should
Pay
smell fresh
attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the website for special promotions and more. And that's the end of the things I'm gonna shill here for a while. How you been, guys? It's been a while since we've done this. I've been busy, as you can see, with my appearances on Bigfoot Society with Jeremiah B. That was a good episode, if I do say so myself. And then, of course, I joined the ladies from behind two trees. Lady night. James must be on his phone.
No, I'm trying to get something fixed. I hate it.
Yeah, that's what happened. And 1 hour a week. Actually, it's 1 hour every 2 weeks. Okay.
I have to clarify something, though, real quick to everybody that's watching us on YouTube right now. Sean's shirt does not say cockist. Okay. It's coexist. Okay.
Yes.
It's not a cockist shirt.
Oh, okay.
Our good friend, I think Jenny King was wearing this shirt, and cockist came up. It says coexist. This is an Erie Eric Farr Giorgio design. It was made in the spirit of fostering amity between all fields of the paranormal, not to promote cock.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
Sean,
I didn't go that far with
cockist.
it. I just wanted to clarify the spelling. That's all.
Well, we clarified it for everybody.
We're good now.
Clarified it like butter.
For all those people that have a pro-cock
and
position,
the show goes down in flames. Oh, here we
That's
go.
all right. This episode is going to be
Crash and burn
for adults, so it'll be explicit.
Rated V.
I'm sorry, kids.
Anyhow, it is a Bigfoot show, so we should start talking about some topics. Go check out my interview with Jeremiah over at the Bigfoot Society, and Gwen and Carrie over at From Behind Tall Trees.
Tall trees, right?
Good episodes. Go check them out, guys. Other than that, I don't know if I'm going to be doing any more this year. I'm kind of tired out of interviews. I don't like to talk about myself, and it's just taxing. But I do enjoy helping friends out and promoting other shows. So if you want to be part of our show, email us, info@sasquatchexperience.com. We'll be glad to get you on. Likewise, if you have a sighting or encounter, email us at info@sasquatchexperience.com. Hit us up on social media, Squatch EXP on Twitter, Sasquatch Experience, Facebook, Instagram. Anyhow, what I was saying before I segued into all that is, guys, what have you been up to?
I've been hanging
Henry,
out with
go
the
first. Hey,
Henry, go ahead, Henry.
Yeah, there you go, Henry. Go first.
Henry.
All right.
Henry. All right, Vance, you go. Vance, you go first.
Well, I was going to take this holiday 3-day weekend to go, a little bit of squatching, but Sean said, no, sir, you have to stay home and work with the Sasquatch Experience, which is my pleasure. I'm just giving you a bunch of crap anyway. But, outside of the whole Sasquatch thing, I've been talking with a lot of people about their opinions of the whole subject matter itself and getting some of their feedback. And I think in a little while, you'll get to hear a classic in our new segment of interview that I did with an individual that's an avid listener of the Sasquatch Experience about the opinion of Bigfoot. But I've been talking to a lot of people about the subject matter, and it seems to me that from 4 years ago when I started this, hey, what do you think about this subject? A lot more people are coming on board with the reality of it. So I find that pretty interesting too. Bake, what have you been up to?
Well, I made a greenhouse. Let's see. I've been working out in the land. I almost hit a deer the other day. He come out of nowhere. I almost hit him with my truck. It was fast. And then he disappeared as equally as he was there. But I know I didn't hit him because there's no damage to my truck. Let me see.
No vaporizing deer.
No,
That's
thank
good.
God. I can only take one of them, and if it's local, I'm just giving up.
Yeah.
Just giving up. I'm gonna be like, yep, take my truck. We moving on. Let's see. Went to Tennessee, but we already talked about that. Waiting for Mothman's coming, so I can wear my caucus shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing my Mothman shirt now. I don't think you can see it past my boot. It's a little dark in here, but you know,
that's okay. That's okay. Don't pull it up too high, please.
Oh, you know.
Yeah. No. That's good. I got it. We're good.
You know, Mothman is one of my favorite of the year.
It is. You look forward to that like Christmas. You really do.
Just because it's everybody is just kind of, it's like one big thing. It's a little bit of everything. Nobody gets real picky. There's no hierarchy of expertise, and there's usually street corn.
Oh, there's
good.
street corn. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do like the street corn.
Yeah, I do remember that you had about 37 years of it the last time we were together.
If I would have had to do,
and that was throughout the weekend, not all in one eating.
Cola guard that week it'd have been all corn.
Yeah, I'm glad you chose not to do your colon guard. And get your screenings done, folks. It's very important.
Yes,
we're pro health here. What's the hell? Oh, Mothman. Okay.
Oh man, we went way off the rails.
Oh, there he goes. Now you look good.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen often. So just hold it. You look good. Keep it.
I look amazing.
People can actually see you. Henry, what have you been up to? This episode's called Catching Up. We're trying to catch up. What you been up to, bud?
Well, I watched an interesting interview with Michael Freeman, the son of Paul Freeman, and he's got a new book coming out about his father, which should be interesting. There's write-ups in the book by Cliff Barackman and Jeff Meldrum and several others. And not only that, there's also a bit of a way that readers can interact with their phones. They can use the QR scanner to access videos and audio of Paul Freeman and, of course, his footage.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Pretty interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was a book done by Toby Johnson, the Al Moon Lab, that did something very similar, Henry. He had QR codes in there where you could go and listen to the sound files by scanning it. Pretty good stuff. I think that's merging the digital and print worlds. It's pretty amazing.
Right? Mm-hmm. No, it's not a bad idea.
As long
note
as
to self, put a QR code in our Sasquatch experience.
Well, the only thing is you have to make sure that is supported and hosted somewhere, but it's still pretty damn cool. Like I like that blend of all those technologies. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What have you been up to there, Mr. Forker? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I want to go back to Henry because what did you take? What was the big takeaways from the Freeman interview?
Well, one of the big takeaways was that he believes his father actually got footage of a Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
Frozen in time.
A little
the
bit.
Henry May story.
And it was in
Henry May money shot.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
And it was actually happened in 1992, not 1994, as has been reported.
Yeah.
Am I still here?
That's a good point. Yep, you're still you're back now. You're better now, Henry. The last thing we heard was 1992. And damn it. Anyhow, what Henry was saying is the Freeman footage was actually taken in 1992. Not later, as people have talked about. And I guess that's one of the things that'll be popping out in this book. And if you go back and listen to the interview I've posted many times that Maz Adams and I did years ago with Mike Freeman, I'm sure you'll hear a lot of this too. Paul Freeman, you guys know I have an affinity for Paul. I know some of the things that he did might have been suspect, and was all his evidence really evidence? Was it created or was it manufactured?
Right.
I've always just been there's just something about the guy I was fond about. I don't know what it is. He just had a certain je ne sais quoi about him, like the real kind of salt of the earth, out in the woods, trying to make this come alive, and at a time where there weren't as many people interested in this. So and I sound like a broken record often when I say that, but I don't think folks today really understand that when you go back, this was really a niche investigative field. This wasn't mainstream. It wasn't pop culture. It wasn't cool. And
no, not at that time. It was VHS at that time. Right.
It was very, you were made fun of if you were really into this, and people didn't take you seriously up until the 2000s. And then all of a sudden people start, that information age, the internet brings people together,
right?
History Channel with Monster Quest, documentaries start pulling us all together. And now all of a sudden, hey, maybe these guys haven't been crazy for so long, or, well,
but that can be said in a number of different fields too, in genres.
Well,
same thing with
UFOs.
Exactly, in the UFO genre, a lot of it was scoffed off as, even in the 70s and 80s, it was kind of scoffed off as, you're kind of nuts. But now you get a lot more information that comes forth because of how the internet has intertwined all of us, and there's similarities in stories that cannot be answered, that this isn't just a coincidence. And I don't want to get off on the whole UFO thing, but it's not just related to Bigfoot only. It does step into other unusual and paranormal fields also. So it's
Henry,
a correlation of, it all volcanoes out of the top at the same time with each other, it seems like.
Henry, when did you really pop online and start getting involved in Bigfoot from an internet research perspective? When did that start for you?
Well, it started as soon as I got high-speed internet, which was around 2005.
Okay.
So
you weren't around on there much more before you met me. Because you and I met at the beginning. Well, I met at the end of 04, beginning of 05. Nope. Right? So, and I was doing this for as soon as I got high-speed internet. I think I was every parent's nightmare. I met adults online talking to them about big hairy creatures. And
Red Rock.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
I definitely didn't use the internet as safely as you could, I guess, by today's standards. But back then, it still wasn't fully infiltrated by pedophiles at that point. So a young 13, 14-year-old me, we're talking to people on the Forest Giants Yahoo group or the, virtual internet Bigfoot conferences. I think Eric Beckyard's page I was on as he was promoting a ham spray to combat terrorists every other week. And I go way back in this, and I think BFRO website started in 99, yes. Maybe.
Yeah, it was a little later. I think you're right, 99.
Right. And then, of course, the GCBRO website, which by today's standards primitive. Even Don Keating had a website back then. Right. So I would follow and frequent those and connect with those guys and, just read. And it was a lot of information that wasn't in books at that point in time. Like the books we had, it seemed like we had the same staple of books since they were written. And after the 80s, between the 80s and the 2000s, not a whole lot was written on Bigfoot.
Right. And of course, this goes back to the days of the chat room, too, where you could kind of share a lot of private information, too.
Well, really, that's how Sasquatch Experience started, was a Yahoo group. We got together every week, and we would listen to Monster Central with Lauren Coleman and then MK Davis and then we, started listening to the X Zone with Rob McConnell, where we got in and started, building a community around listening to these shows and having dialogue around them, either through type or text. And, Billy Willard, Melissa Hovey, Monica Rollins, a whole bunch of us would get in there, and we would have a core group of us, and it would grow and grow and grow until it's become what you all are enjoying today in some way, shape, or form. Very primitive way of podcasting, getting information out together. But you made lifelong friends doing that. And not everybody, the thing is, not everybody agreed on everything we were talking about.
But that's the fun part of it, because then you can get to an answer a little bit faster.
Well, yeah, because you have looking at it from different perspectives, and a cult of personality hadn't formed yet. And I think that's what happens now is people wrap their minds around a researcher or an idea, and they, get comfortable with that, and that's all they want to stay in.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially when the personalities, it becomes dangerous, because it seems like the people that are the more out there personalities tend to have the bigger following. And it's dangerous because it's not always the most scientific or most sound of mind.
Yeah, well, we've learned our lesson for some of that, so
absolutely,
we certainly have.
Yeah, but
I've got a Bigfoot in my freezer. No, you don't.
Yeah, but the thing is even with the Georgia boys and all that, you learn odd things from everything, because even and you work somewhere and you hate somebody, but you learn how the system works, or you have a researcher that you think is completely crap, so you listen to them more, and then you start looking at their evidence and going, that can't be this, it must be this. But then you do you read 3 books to have a pure idea of how you can prove they're wrong. So in a way, someone who challenges you, what is it that you're judged really not by your friends, but who your enemies are, because if if you have a supervillain enemy, you must be pretty high up there in the food chain if they, hate you that much.
Yeah, that's a good
You make
point.
really good points. You do about, formulating opinions based upon the stuff they're putting out and going and reading. And as I've said many times, sometimes I just wish people would go back and read. So many questions that we get today are answered in all these books that are out there already. In terms of fundamental research, we haven't changed.
No.
Since this has started. We haven't advanced it that much. Where we've used more technology, but let's be honest, boys and girls, how's that technology panned out? I think the best piece of technology that we've improved on has been, look, I was talking with Jeremiah about this a couple weeks ago. We go out there and spend thousands of dollars on these fancy recorders. What did Ron Moorhead and Al Berry record on?
Yeah, right. A cassette tape. You push the button on the portable cassette player. Yeah, exactly.
So, really, what have we done by taking this technology that we have? And that's the one argument we get from skeptics. Well, with today's technology and videos and everything else, you should be able to get it like that. Well, you're not wrong. But there's a next part of that. Who's taken it upon themselves to train themselves to use it in a moment's notice?
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the next step. And I like the question, but you got to take it one step further and also realize that there's a lot of expense involved in this, and not everybody's got the plethora of funds to dip and, spend thousands of dollars on cameras. And for what? What are you going to buy? I wouldn't, but are you going to spend $5,000 on a camera you're solely going to use to go out and hunt for Bigfoot?
And then get criticized on what it is that you do capture?
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a great investment.
No. And what rational person is going to do that? And look, I know people spend thousands of dollars on FLIRs. And we've gotten 2 or 3 really good pieces of footage from FLIR cameras since we've been using them. Stacy Brown, Mike Green, Bart Catino.
Right. But besides the fact that those are really good, those 3 are really good, it still does not conclude any provable evidence. Right. That's right. So again,
good shit.
Back to square one again.
Really good shit.
Oh yeah. I
just
agree.
doesn't prove
I
anything.
agree.
And before we
Right.
step into our next topic, let's go ahead and take our news break, and then we'll be back. And we'll talk Bigfoot encounters submitted by witnesses, or by listeners. And we'll be back, folks, right after this. Stay tuned.
Yeah, you might not want to use cloud paper toilet paper on your dog, well, because that's what your carpet is for. But using it on your nether regions is soft and strong. Made from 100% sustainable bamboo, cloud paper is a tree-free product. Cloud paper makes paper towels too. Great for household cleanups of any mess. Even good to clean up the mess after Alec Baldwin.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
Visit cloudpaper.co and use promo code BTS15 for great discounts. Again, that's cloudpaper.co, promo code BTS15. This is the Sasquatch Experience, stranger than fiction news and stories. This is the Labor Day edition. So to all you pregnant mothers out there giving birth today, happy Labor Day. Now, Led Zeppelin. Well, here we go again. A nation divided, and Hollywood sticking its finger in our eye, apparently, once again. Jesse Eisenberg, I'm sure you know him, playing another Berg from Social Network, playing the role of Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, that same guy. Although I liked Zombieland, I thought that was kind of a fun movie. But apparently Jesse is making a comedy film with the Zellner brothers where he plays the role of Sasquatch. He's going to be in full makeup. I'm looking at this guy going, really, you're the best candidate to play the role of a Sasquatch. But he spoke to Variety magazine saying the next movie I'm doing is the Zellner brothers. They just are brilliant directors, and I've wanted to work with them for a long time playing a Sasquatch. He added in this interview that he will be in full body makeup and hair, but he has no lines. I grunt, but I have no lines, and I'm really looking forward to doing this. Of course, there's some brilliant acting involved here. Again, like I said, another poke in the eye to the whole community from Hollywood. The Zellner brothers' fascination with the Bigfoot concept can be traced back as far as 2010 when they released the Sundance award-winning short film Sasquatch Birth Journal 2. Now, I personally have not seen Sasquatch Birth Journal 2, but from what I read, it's an extremely short film of a Sasquatch who gives birth and then wanders off to a river and takes a bath. Wow. Wow, talk about some drama. Hang on to your hat, folks, because this Zellner brother with Eisenberg film will probably knock your socks off and get an Academy Award. Of course, I'm being facetious, but thanks, Hollywood. Appreciate it. And now, for something completely different, a brief interview with an avid listener of the Sasquatch Experience. A word from Bruce.
Okay. So, in your opinion, what's your take on Bigfoot?
I actually saw one in my backyard the other day.
Did you?
It had taken down this deer and was just ripping its antlers off and trying to eat it. It was just horrible.
Wow.
There was blood everywhere. This dog came out and the Bigfoot batted him away like he was nothing. This thing was 10
I thought they
foot
liked
tall.
dogs. Yeah.
It was hairy. First, I thought it was my wife. Then
Wow.
I realized that she wouldn't be tearing the antlers off the deer.
No,
She'd just go out there with an axe and whack its head off.
Oh, that's great. So what's your take on, do you think there is such a creature, or
It's
throw it out
pretty easy.
there?
I think it could exist.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one, but that doesn't mean it's not real.
Well, that's a great answer. But I love the fact that you saw one in your backyard.
Thanks again for listening to this edition of the Sasquatch Experience, Stranger Than Fiction News and Stories, our infamous Labor Day edition. Gentlemen, back to you.
And that's what we get when we put you out on the street.
Well, kind of. Hey, he's an avid listener, so kudos to
Sasquatch
Bruce.
Giving birth. Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate your commentary there. Nice story. Interesting stuff. I love it. You find them all, Vance, out there and
I try. I think we talked about that in pre-show, too, also, as to what we've been doing in our time off. But yeah, it's just nice to get out there and talk with people and find out their opinion of the whole scenario. And that some of them will start off with, no, I don't believe in it. And then you bring up, the expanse of, our national forests throughout this country and throughout the world, and the hundreds of millions of acres that are unexplored. And then they start scratching their head going, well, it could be possible, I guess, just because you're presenting something they haven't thought about yet.
You have to dive into the root of why you don't believe. Like, I think it's a great conversation to have with somebody who, well, it's not real. Well, how do you know? Why is it not real to you? And then you start going down that rabbit hole with them and start exploring. You start making them think, and now all of a sudden, the diehard skepticism, when you start asking questions and giving counterpoints, becomes a little, a little more.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I just saw.
Me too. I had to put it up there. Rest in peace, Bruce, if he mistook a Squatch for his wife. Listen, I've been to these conferences. I've been around. Sometimes you wonder.
Some shit happens in the woods. Yeah.
Sometimes you wonder. Does. But yeah, back to that. As you start pushing back, the conversation gets a little bit more interesting. People start actually thinking about why. And it's great to be skeptical. But to be skeptical without reason is it just doesn't make much sense. Because is an answer a fifth grader gives when he doesn't want to do something,
right?
Or your kid gives, because I said so. Yeah. Because
right.
Yeah, but most of the skeptics in this field, you got to ask the question: why are they wasting so much time trying to prove you wrong? Did Bigfoot hurt them, or they just need to be somewhere? But you have to ask the question. Like, if
you have to have skeptics,
you have to have some. Even as a scientist, you have to have some skeptical opinion. But I'm talking these diehard guys. I'm not talking the guy in the grocery store that sees the little ad on the Inquirer. It says, "Oh no, this Bigfoot shit," and then he moves on and buys some oranges and goes on and beats his wife or whatever he does. Whatever. But the guy that goes to like conferences or goes other places and goes, "You guys are completely nuts. Why are you here? Why did you pay $100 and drive 25 miles to come here and just say we suck?" I think I have an answer for that. I think one, it's the attractiveness to see what's out there. Maybe that though they're skeptical, they're still open-minded enough to go and hear the arguments. And we want it to be exclusive. We want it to be inclusive for skeptics. I think the more skeptics we have to come in, the better off we are, because they do push us and challenge us a little bit. But be skeptic with reason. And as you start seeing evidence, and that evidence, starts making sense to you, that's different. It's not being a skeptic just because you've got nothing better to do. For people that, I don't know if I've met somebody that's gone to a Bigfoot conference that was a diehard skeptic that didn't at least entertain the viewpoint of the person that we're talking to.
Right.
Rather, they ended up on the other side of it. I think if you're a real skeptic, I think part of it is, though you're skeptical, you still want to believe.
Well, sure.
But wanting to believe is a lot different than physically proving.
Mhm.
And that is where we have to start navigating all that gray space. Like, how do we blend all that together? How do we blend the true believers and the knowers
Mhm.
with the skeptics and create some sort of beautiful potpourri where we have this great dialogue and conversation that pushes it forward, doesn't plateau us where we've been the last 50 years? I don't have an answer to that.
No, I don't think any of us have an answer to that. But it's nice to it's nice to for somebody like me to have a conversation with any random person that may not have this as a forefront type of
Agree with Kevin there, by the way.
motivation, a forefront type of interest in this whole subject matter altogether. It's something that they really don't think much about. And you'll first present the question to them, and they may say, nah, it's not. Yeah, you know what? And I think I brought that up, a while ago to you, Sean. Maybe I've even brought it up on the show. My former boss he would just laugh at me for doing all this Sasquatch stuff. He's like, will you waste your time? This is crazy. But he took a trip up Highway 1 in the Pacific Northwest, and when he came back, he approached me and said to me directly, I owe you an apology because there's clearly something going on with this whole Bigfoot thing. It's part of a culture, and there's so many people that see it. And it changed his point of view a little bit to say, there could be quite a possibility to this. And that's all I was looking for, is just look at the possibility of the possible existence here, because I think a lot of people, when they're at home and they go to work every day, they don't understand the expanse of this entire globe where something could exist. And, what was it, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, another discovery of a new bird has been discovered. It's a bird, for crying out loud. And, science is like, wow, what's this thing? And now they classify it as a new species of bird that has never been discovered before. It happens, and it happens on a daily basis with new creatures. A lot of them are small, but nonetheless, there are creatures that are being discovered on a daily basis that we never knew existed.
Well, Kevin, I put his comments up there on the screen, and Amy, both make very good points, and I agree with them a lot. The problem with the skeptic, I think, as we see it and know it today, is that know-it-all jackass. It can't be anything because I say so, and there's no proof. There is proof, but we're never going to win those people. But those people most of the time aren't coming to the conference, coming to the table. But you talk to the everyday guy out in the street, Vance, that's where we start picking up the votes. You do the retail politic out there. You start talking to people on the street, getting their temperature. What do you really know about Bigfoot? And if we started teaching the potential of Bigfoot a lot more scientifically than tongue-in-cheek like, we'd probably start winning more of those just because people over. And I see that in people's faces. It never fails that we're talking about Bigfoot somewhere and you get that jackass, you believe in that stuff. Yeah, I do. And this is why. Let me tell you why. If you have a few minutes to talk, we'll talk. And by the time you're done, they're like, I hadn't really considered that before. And it's happening.
I would tell them it's not a matter of belief, it's a matter of evidence.
Yes.
You're right. Absolutely.
Right.
Belief is, but you can't, you got to be careful with that though, because we have a lot of folks in these fields that are knowers too, right? And the knowers could be just as detrimental as the skeptics as you're trying to scientifically prove something. Amy says, I call myself a hopeful skeptic. I need my standard of proof, but I'm willing to be convinced. And I have intelligent reasons for my interest in Sasquatch. And I agree with that 100%. Even after having my own experience, I think I've become more skeptical. I was very skeptical of myself, right? And I don't know that being a knower is such a good thing. Because then you've become part of this, I don't want to say cult, but you become part of this religion.
No.
You become
Right,
You know,
right.
you become the polar opposite of the skeptic.
Mm-hmm.
The two very dangerous positions to be in, not that far different in their mindsets and methodology.
Mm-hmm.
You also
You
get
know, and I
angry.
think you do, and you become militant about. I use that word, militant about your beliefs. You do, and not a comfortable place to be. I do want to read. Let's segue past this and into one of our listeners that sent this in. The experience was actually from June 28th, 1980. But
Mm-hmm.
our listener writes, I've been enjoying listening to your podcast and wanted to share this personal account with you. Feel free to read any part or all of this report on your show. It's a minor incident, but felt you might be interested since it involves behavior that I've only heard of a couple times and thought you may want to add it to your Bigfoot behavior knowledge base. Here's what happened. On June 28, 1980, my buddy and I were hiking up Mount Pew, 7,224 feet, for the umpteenth time, being one of our favorite climbs. When we arrived at the trailhead at 1,920 feet, we were the only ones there. To describe the hike, the trail moves up through dense rainforest-like woods and climbs steadily for about 5 minutes before emerging from the trees and into a boulder-strewn alpine cirque that we always called the avalanche dump. From there, a steep switchback winds up to a notch named Stugic Pass at 5,720 feet. Above the pass, the trail follows a very exposed ridge to the summit pyramid. The views are amazing. However, that day we had low clouds and fog. Also, going up through the avalanche, we saw a couple of marmots and a herd of mountain goats with little ones, which may have been significant. The small summit is conveniently flat and sandy with just about enough room to pitch a small tent. We had no tent, but ate lunch there and both slept for a few minutes before heading down. The descent was uneventful till we were halfway down the avalanche dump, where we were stopped and took our packs off to drink some water or something. I happened to turn around and look back up at the Stugic Pass, where we had just been a few minutes earlier, and saw movement from something just below the other side of the pass. The something then stood upright, looking down at us. I turned to my buddy and said, "What's that figure up in the pass?" Neither of us spoke as we watched the human-like form which was silhouetted against the gray clouds. It stood still while looking down at us, then began waving its long arms back and forth above its head like someone flagging down a car. I remember thinking about taking a shot, but my camera was in my pack with a wide-angle lens on it, so I would have had to change lenses. Also, I didn't want to take my eyes off this thing, so no photo. It would flap its arms around a few times, stop a second, and flap again. Soon the low clouds moved in and covered it. The sighting lasted about 25 seconds. We didn't say much as we continued down the mountain. I think we were waiting to see if there were other cars at the trailhead, which would mean it could have been a person we had missed somehow on the trail. On the way down, we passed one guy heading up the trail, and when we got to the car, there was only one other vehicle, his. This ruled it out as being a person. We were 300 to 400 yards from it, and I don't think it knew we were there until it rose and saw us standing below. We weren't moving when we spotted it, so it likely didn't know if we were going up or down the slope. In human terms, the emphatic waving of the arms could mean, "Hey, up here, I need some help," or as in herding livestock, "Turn around, go the other way." A person needing help would have shouted down to us, not stood there flapping their arms. This individual clearly wanted us to go or get out of there. Not sure what it was doing way up there, but it may have been hunting the goats we saw earlier. Regardless, I'm glad we saw it after passing its position, rather than us coming down from the upper mountain to meet it at the pass. A few moments made the difference. This took place in Washington State in the Northern Cascades. Thanks for your time, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Interesting.
You know, the
yeah.
one big point I take away from that too is that, and thanks, Brian, for the salamander comment. One thing I take away from that, because I've had personal conversations with a couple of different people, not a lot, but a couple different people that saw something, but they didn't want to take their eyes off of it to capture a picture of it. and I think they would have lost that moment of what they actually captured with their mind photo,
Yeah.
so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Because you're in the moment and you don't want to miss anything. And instead of grabbing the camera and putting the right lens on it, it's just the moment's over and you've missed it. So that's one big takeaway I take from that. And on top of which, with the flailing of the arms, boy, there's a lot of different directions you could go with that. And I noticed in that also, because I read that same thing when you sent it to me too. One of the first thoughts that crossed my mind is the avalanche area, and yet there were no rocks thrown at them.
Yeah.
And I found that rather interesting too, because it would seem like there'd be a lot of rocks there to throw down to them to shoo them out of the area. And it may be flailing its arms to say, yeah, I'm here. Don't come near me, because I will punch you in the face and you'll never be seen again. So who's to say?
Henry, thoughts?
It's an amazing sighting. I mean, and I agree with a lot of what Vance said. I mean, it would be kind of pointless, really, to try and put a new lens on the camera and then try and take a picture when you're trying to kind of it's almost as if the individuals were kind of savoring the moment, and they felt like the moment would have been spoiled if they try and take a picture.
Consider the fact, if it was somebody that need help and you saw somebody, if my gesticulating arms weren't catching your attention, why would I not scream or try to run towards you?
Exactly. Or yell. Exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yell also assumes the person has the physical capacity to do that. There are people that can't. But you think something would be done to catch the way, as opposed to just trying to ward them off, right? James, what do you think?
Well, I think it comes down to, like they said, is you're not prepared to go see something. You're just out there, and then when you do see something, you don't look away, because just the fact is you're just in the moment. And I think that they saw something that was truly amazing, and that it's something that stuck with them. And the thing is like, we talk about people that believe, and the thing is they're going to believe forever, no matter what you say, because they had that moment, and I don't think there's anybody that could take that away from them at all, and ever tell them, no, you saw a bear, blah blah blah. No, I know what a bear looks like. You know what I mean? And the thing is the more they think about it, I'm sure that story doesn't get expanded, but the details get crisper. You're right.
Everything good?
Yeah.
I guess the question I have is, it's not even a question; it's more of a comment. 25 seconds doesn't seem like a long time.
No, but it is, right.
It's a good time mentally to capture an image.
Hang by your thumbnails for 25 seconds and tell me it's not a long time. No, you can
get I don't want to do that
information in that amount of time.
You can. I think in the past we've done something like that on the show, where we've paused for like amount of time. We're not going to do that, of course, because airtime needs to be filled. But if you were to take that 25 seconds and honestly give yourself 25 seconds of quiet, and you're just focused on something, you pick up a lot of detail after a little bit. Even though 300 to 400 yards is a little bit of a distance.
But it's really not.
But
it's really not. When you stand in an area and you measure out 300 yards, it's not as far as a lot of people assume that it is. In a visual concept, you see a lot of detail at 300 yards, and it sounds like it's a long distance, but it's really not. It's truly is not that far away.
It's not.
No, it's not 10 feet, and I don't know if you want to be 10 feet from something flailing its arms at you, but.
What's that, James?
That was 25 seconds from once I put my one finger up to when I when I
Yeah.
yelled 25, and it wasn't that much.
No.
It was almost a whole conversation, and we just didn't,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a point to think about, and you know that's what we, you know, just trying to emphasize that here a little bit. It was a good, it was a good story. I'm glad they shared it with us. You know,
Yeah,
again, we
thank you.
want folks to report their sightings with us, but we are going to talk about it, right? You know, we're going to have healthy conversation about it. I think. Damn it, I dropped my pen. I think it's, you know, the more of these we get, you know, the gesticulating is something you don't hear a lot about. You know, them flailing their, you know, limbs to try to.
Yeah, I wonder what that whole idea was behind that. You know, if it's a Sasquatch, what was the intent behind doing something like that?
Maybe they were making it rougher for them to get the goats or whatever they wanted to get. I mean,
It's possible.
we were in the
Maybe
back.
they weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they weren't waving at those guys to begin with. They were waving at the animals, and it was just assumed that they were.
That's a good point, right?
Well, yeah, or they're waving at the goats, telling them, "Hey, there's some stupid people up the street there. You know, you need to, you know, come over here."
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. The person that sent that story in did a pretty eloquent job of giving description so that you can, in your mind's eye, you know, put yourself into that situation and turn around and see something like that in your imagination. I'm sure it probably doesn't draw the same picture as to what they witnessed, but it's pretty close, I would imagine. So they did a very eloquent job in writing that, and we greatly appreciate
you know,
that. So,
just
thank
the
you.
facts alone and the elevations, you know, was most appreciated. You really do get,
and
to
it's
build that
Washington State. I mean, seriously. Well, of all places that you're going to see something, where would it be? Washington State. That's a.
Well, I don't know.
No, you see them all over the country, but you know what I'm saying. It's in Washington State. How many reports come out of there?
A decent amount. Washington, Oregon,
quite a few.
Ohio,
Right.
Pennsylvania,
Quite a few.
New York.
So, yeah.
I mean,
quite a few.
We've got
so I find that interesting too. You know, if it was, you know, in Jamaica, I would say, yeah, I think you're kind of goofy, but
Island Squatch.
Is there a Jamaica Squatch?
No, there's no Jamaica.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a Jamaican
I always
Squatch.
feel like Jamaica would be the Jamaica skunk ape.
Yeah, well. El Brian wants to know, did they wave back? Yeah, well, it wasn't in the story if they waved back or not.
Rastafari Squatch. There we go.
Yeah. Yaman. The Yaman Squatch.
Jamaican me, Harry.
There you go. The Yaman. I like it.
Yaman.
You just did it, Vance.
Please send all your hate mail to Vance Evans.
We just got a new T-shirt idea for the show.
Yaman.
Oh, Yaman. Either that or Marley Squatch. One of the two.
Rasta Squatch. I love it. Oh,
Yeah.
right. See, look at writing these things down. It's all about marketing, folks.
It down.
Have you seen the Marley?
Don't be rude.
I'm sorry, we derailed the show.
Have you seen the Marley Squatch? Swam on.
Hey, listen, we had some good time catching up tonight, guys. We got a good listener feedback in. Folks, continue to send that in to us. info@sasquatchexperience.com. Connect with us on all social media. We want to be your friend till the end.
Heidi ho.
Heidi ho.
Heidi
There
ho.
you go. Sasquatch Experience, Facebook, Instagram, Squatch EXP on Twitter. Become a patron and support us for as little as $2 a month. Can't go wrong. Get ad-free shows, special things just for you. And this is why we can't have nice things.
No, we can't.
Coming up,
I know.
we have.
I know.
We do have some good shows coming up.
Come on.
Next week, no show. The week after, we will be doing a show from post Mothman. So we'll see if we pull anything interesting from the Mothman conference. And then we're going to start talking about Badlands Bigfoot. Going back into parts unknown, talking about Bigfoot in the Badlands. What are we going to come up with? What are we going to find out? We don't have a freaking clue. So come back in 2 weeks. And
I've got a jawbone from a Bigfoot from the Badlands, so we'll be showing that off.
Interesting. All
Yeah,
right, folks.
we do.
I'm Sean Forker. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter @Sean Forker. Vance, where can folks find you?
Oh, they can find me sitting right here at Studio 401, but they can follow me over at Instagram, Vance _A_Nesbitt, and that's with 2 T's, over on the Instagram.
Henry?
Well, you can find me at Henry B. May the 4th on Facebook.
The 4th. Go ahead, James.
You can find me on Facebook under James Baker. By the way, I am trying to sell an excessive bike right now. Okay, it may be haunted.
An exorcist bike.
No matter how. Okay, so just so we're aware, I'm not stupid. I just can't. I couldn't spell. Like spell checker kept changing exercise to every word it could think of, and I just kept missing it. And then somebody would make. But then I got all these people trying to like, give me your phone number and I'll buy it from you. I'm like, why do you people need my phone number for you don't need my phone number. No, don't need it.
Wherever you find Sean, you'll find Baker.
Probably
that's the truth.
Because usually Sean drove.
Henry, go ahead, give us those parting words.
Bring it, Henry.
Y'all be good or be good at it.
All right, folks. Sasquatch Experience. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
You've been listening to Sasquatch Experience. Please rate and review wherever this podcast is consumed. To share your experience, visit us on Facebook or email us, squatchexperience@gmail.com. Keep on squatching.